The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber slid open with a sound like thunder. Ambassador Jae-min walked through them with steady steps, his black diplomatic uniform crisp and clean. Behind him, his aide, Sora, carried a small data pad, her face calm but her eyes alert. They had been summoned here, but neither of them knew exactly why. The chamber was huge, with seats arranged in a circle that rose up like steps. Each seat held a different alien species, and all of them were staring down at the two humans in the center. The air felt heavy with tension, and Jae-min could smell the strange mix of alien scents that always filled these meetings. At the highest seat sat Counselor Vestan of the Velthari. His blue skin seemed to glow under the chamber lights, and his four arms moved in patterns that showed his anger. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the room like a hammer hitting metal. "Humans of Earth," Vestan began, "you stand accused of crimes against all life in this galaxy." Jae-min felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his face neutral. "Counselor, we are not aware of any crimes. Could you please explain what we have done wrong?" A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed images of human colonies, laboratories, and research stations. The images rotated slowly, showing every detail. "Project Mindbridge," Vestan said, his voice full of disgust. "Your species has created technology that allows consciousness to survive death. You transfer minds into artificial bodies. You make immortal beings." Sora whispered something to Jae-min, but he already understood. The aliens had found out about their most secret project, the one that was supposed to save humanity from death itself. A Zephyrian representative stood up. Her insect-like body clicked as she moved. "This technology violates the natural order," she said. "Death is part of life. Without death, life has no meaning." "But surely," Jae-min said, "saving lives is a good thing. We use this technology to help people who are dying. We give them a chance to continue living, to be with their families, to contribute to society." "That is exactly the problem," Vestan replied. The display changed to show population charts and resource calculations. "Your people will become immortal. You will spread across the galaxy like a plague. You will consume all resources. You will never die, so you will never stop growing." A Draknari general slammed his fist on his seat. His red scales flashed in the light. "We have seen what humans do when they want something. You take planets, you change them, you never stop pushing forward. Now you want to live forever? We cannot allow this." Jae-min looked around the chamber. Every face showed the same expression: fear. These powerful aliens, who controlled most of the galaxy, were afraid of humanity. Not because humans were strong fighters or had the best weapons, but because humans never knew when to stop. "Counselor," Jae-min said carefully, "perhaps we can discuss limits on the technology. We can work together to find a solution that makes everyone comfortable." "No," Vestan said firmly. "There is only one solution. Humanity must leave." The chamber fell silent. Sora dropped her data pad, and it clattered on the floor. The sound seemed very loud in the quiet room. "Leave?" Jae-min asked. "All human colonies must be abandoned," Vestan continued. "All humans must return to Earth. You have 72 standard hours to begin the evacuation. Any human found outside the Sol system after that time will be considered an enemy of the Galactic Council." "And if we refuse?" Jae-min asked, though he already knew the answer. The Korthani admiral stood up. His metal implants gleamed as he spoke. "Then we will make sure you cannot refuse. Every human colony will be destroyed. Every human ship will be hunted down. Your species will be wiped out completely. Jae-min felt the weight of the moment. Humanity had always been the newcomers in galactic politics. They had fewer ships, smaller armies, and less advanced technology than most other species. If the entire Galactic Council decided to destroy them, there would be no chance of survival. "This seems extreme," Sora said, speaking for the first time. "Surely there must be another way." "Your people had a choice," Vestan replied. "You could have developed normal technology like everyone else. You could have accepted death as part of life. Instead, you chose to play God. Now you must face the consequences." The display changed again, showing the locations of all human colonies. Red markers appeared over each one, showing where alien fleets were already positioned. The Council had been planning this for a while. "The vote was unanimous," Vestan said. "Every species in the Council agreed. Humanity is too dangerous to remain free in the galaxy." Jae-min realized something important. This was not really about the mind bridge technology. This was about fear of what humans might become. The aliens looked at humanity and saw something that scared them more than any weapon or army. "Very well," Jae-min said finally. "We will need time to organize the evacuation." 72 hours, Vestan repeated. "Not 1 minute more." As Jae-min and Sora walked toward the exit, they could hear the aliens talking among themselves. Some sounded relieved. Others still seemed worried. One voice stood out above the others. "Are we sure this is wise?" asked a Velthari scientist. "Humans are very good at solving problems. What if they find a way to solve this one too?" "They are being exiled to one small planet," Vestan replied. "What can they possibly do from there?" Jae-min and Sora exchanged a look. They both knew something the aliens did not. Every human colony already had mind bridge technology. Every human research station was connected to every other one. The network was already built. It was already active. As they reached the exit, Jae-min turned back to face the chamber. "Counselor Vestan," he called out, "may I ask one final question?" "What is it?" "When you look at humans, what do you see that scares you so much?" Vestan was quiet for a long moment. When he answered, his voice was softer than before. "We see a species that does not know when to stop. We see beings who look at any problem and believe they can fix it. We see creatures who would rather break the laws of nature than accept limitations." Jae-min nodded slowly. "Thank you for your honesty, Counselor. I hope you find the galaxy peaceful after we are gone." As they left the chamber, Sora whispered, "What do we do now?" "We do what humans always do," Jae-min replied. "We adapt. We overcome. And we make sure this never happens again." Behind them, the great doors closed with another sound like thunder. But this time it sounded less like an ending and more like the beginning of something new. Something the Galactic Council had not expected and could not understand. The evacuation would begin in a few hours. But Jae-min knew it would not be a retreat. It would be a transformation. The aliens wanted humanity gone from their space. Soon, they would get exactly what they asked for, but not in the way they imagined. Humanity was about to leave the galaxy, forever. But what they would leave behind would change everything. The emergency session in Seoul had been going on for 6 hours. President Dong-woo sat at the head of a long table filled with the most important people on Earth. Military leaders, scientists, colony governors, and business executives all waited to hear what would happen next. Dr. Mi-young stood at the front of the room next to a large screen. She looked tired, but her voice was strong and clear. "The Galactic Council has given us 72 hours to evacuate all human settlements outside the Sol system," she said. "They believe our mind bridge technology is too dangerous to exist." "How many people are we talking about?" asked General Park, the head of Earth's military forces. "Approximately 43 million humans live in the colonies," replied Governor Han, who managed most of the outer settlements. "They are spread across 67 different worlds." "Impossible," muttered Admiral Kim. "We don't have enough ships to move that many people in 72 hours. It would take months, maybe years." Dr. Mi-young smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Actually, Admiral, we don't need to move anyone." The room became very quiet. President Dongwu leaned forward. "Explain." "The mind bridge technology is more advanced than the aliens realize," Dr. Mi-young said. She pressed a button, and the screen showed a diagram of the human brain. "We told them it was about transferring consciousness into artificial bodies. That was true, but it was not the whole truth. The diagram changed to show millions of connected points of light. Every human who has received a mind bridge implant is connected to every other human with an implant. We can share thoughts, memories, and experiences instantly across any distance." "Like a hive mind?" asked Governor Han. "Not exactly," Dr. Mi-young replied. "Each person keeps their own personality and memories, but they can also access the knowledge and skills of everyone else in the network. When one person learns something, everyone learns it. When one person solves a problem, everyone knows the solution." President Dongwu rubbed his forehead. "How many people have these implants?" "All of them," Dr. Mi-young said simply. "Every human in the colonies received a mind bridge implant as part of their standard medical treatment. Most of the people on Earth have them too. We told everyone they were just health monitors." The room erupted in angry voices. "You experimented on people without telling them?" shouted General Park. "You lied to us?" added Admiral Kim. Dr. Mi-young waited for the noise to die down. "We did what we had to do to save our species. The implants are completely harmless while people are alive. They only activate the consciousness transfer when someone dies." "But why?" asked President Dongwu. "Because death is the biggest problem humanity has ever faced," Dr. Mi-young replied. "Every great person who dies takes their knowledge with them. Every parent who dies leaves children behind. Every researcher who dies loses years of work. Death makes us weaker as a species." On the screen, she showed images of human colonies. "But with Mind Bridge, death becomes just a transition. When someone's body dies, their consciousness joins the network permanently. They become part of something bigger and stronger." Admiral Kim stood up. "This is insane. You've turned us into some kind of experiment." "No," said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Captain Hyun-soo, who had just arrived from the Kepler 442b colony. "She's turned us into something that can survive." Captain Hyun-soo walked to the front of the room. "I've been coordinating the evacuation from my colony, but it's not really an evacuation. We're taking apart every piece of advanced technology and bringing it with us. We're making sure nothing valuable is left behind." "The aliens are watching," warned General Park. "They'll know if we're hiding something." "No, they won't," Captain Hyun-soo replied. "Because we're not hiding anything. We're openly taking our technology and leaving, just like they asked. They don't understand what the technology really does." Dr. Mi-young nodded. "The aliens think they're forcing us to give up our colonies. They don't realize that we can maintain control of those colonies without being physically present." President Dongwu finally understood. "The network allows us to operate equipment remotely. Not just equipment, Dr. Mi Young said. Everything. We can run entire planets through the network. We can monitor, control, and manage any system that's connected to our technology. The screen showed a map of human space. The aliens want us to leave our colonies empty, but empty doesn't mean abandoned. Every human facility has backup systems, automated processes, and hidden communication networks. We built them that way, on purpose. So, what happens when we leave? Asked Governor Han. We become something the aliens have never seen before, Dr. Mi Young replied. A species that exists in multiple places at the same time. Our bodies will be on Earth, but our minds will still be managing our colonies, our research stations, and our trade routes. Captain Hyun-soo pulled out a small device. This is a mind bridge transmitter. It's smaller than a coin, and it can send and receive consciousness data across any distance instantly. Every piece of equipment we take back to Earth has one built into it. The aliens think they're solving a problem, Dr. Mi Young continued. They think they're stopping us from becoming immortal and spreading across the galaxy, but they're actually helping us become something much more powerful. Admiral Kim looked confused. How is exiling us to Earth making us more powerful? Because now we have a reason to use the network's full capabilities, Dr. Mi Young explained. Before we were trying to fit in with galactic society. We were following their rules and trying to be good neighbors. Now we don't have to pretend anymore. President Dongwu stood up. What exactly are you proposing? We leave quietly, Dr. Mi Young said. We take our people back to Earth, just like the aliens want. But we stay connected to everything we've built. We keep running our systems, managing our resources, and developing our technology. And then what? Then we wait, Dr. Mi Young replied. We wait for the aliens to realize that removing humans from the galaxy doesn't actually remove human influence from the galaxy. The screen showed shipping routes, communication networks, and resource flows throughout human space. Our technology is integrated into galactic commerce. Our research supports alien science projects. Our colonies provide resources that other species depend on. When we leave, Captain Hyun-soo added, all of that will still be running. The aliens will still get their shipments, their research data, and their resources. But they won't understand. How? Dr. Mi Young smiled again, and this time it was genuine. We're going to give them exactly what they asked for, a galaxy without humans. But they never asked for a galaxy without human technology. Is this legal? Asked Governor Han. They told us to leave, President Dongwu replied. They didn't. Tell us to turn off our equipment or shut down our systems. They just said humans couldn't be in the colonies anymore. And technically, Dr. Mi Young added, humans won't be in the colonies. Human consciousnesses will be, but human bodies will all be back on Earth. Admiral Kim shook his head. This is the craziest plan I've ever heard. It's also the only plan that lets humanity survive, Captain Hyun-soo replied. The aliens are afraid of us because they think we'll spread across the galaxy and take over everything. So we're going to prove them right, but in a way they never expected. Dr. Mi Young turned off the screen. The evacuation begins in 4 hours. Every human will return to Earth voluntarily. We'll follow every rule the Galactic Council set for us. But we'll still be out there, President Dongwu said, understanding fully now. Yes, Dr. Mi Young replied. We'll be everywhere. 6 months had passed since the last human ship left the outer colonies. The Galactic Council was satisfied. Their monitoring stations reported that all human settlements were empty, all human ships had returned to Earth, and the dangerous species was finally contained to their home system. But strange reports were starting to reach the council chambers. Klaxvor, A Zephyrian merchant stood nervously in front of Counselor Vestan. His insect-like body clicked and buzzed as he spoke. "Honored Counselor, something is very wrong in the outer territories." "Explain," Vestan replied, his blue skin darker than usual with worry. "Trade routes are going silent," Klaxvor said. "Not attacked, not destroyed, just silent. Ships arrive at stations and find them empty, but all the equipment is still running perfectly." Vestan leaned forward in his chair. "Empty how?" "No people, sir. The stations are operating automatically. Cargo is being loaded and unloaded by machines. Bills are being paid electronically. Everything works exactly as it should, but there's nobody there to talk to." This was the third report like this in the past week. Vestan was beginning to feel uneasy. "Have you tried contacting the station operators?" "Yes, sir. We get automated responses that sound normal, but they feel wrong somehow. Like someone is reading from a script, but not really understanding what they're saying." Far away from the council chambers, on a remote monitoring station in the Kepler system, something incredible was happening. Technician Bora lay dying in a medical bay, her body failing from radiation exposure after a reactor accident. But she was not afraid. The mind bridge implant in her brain was activating. Bora felt her consciousness lifting away from her damaged body. For a moment, she existed in a space between life and death, between individual thought and collective knowledge. Then she felt the presence of others, thousands of others. Every human who had died since the evacuation was there. Scientists, engineers, farmers, artists, teachers. Their individual personalities were intact, but they were also part of something larger, something that could think faster and know more than any single mind could handle. "Welcome," said a familiar voice. It was Dr. Mi-young, but not quite the same Dr. Mi-young who had stood in the Seoul conference room. This version had access to the knowledge and memories of hundreds of other consciousness transfers. "What happened to me?" Bora asked, though she already knew the answer. "You graduated," Dr. Mi-young replied. "Your body died, but your mind joined. The network permanently. You're part of the collective now." Bora could feel it immediately. The knowledge of every person in the network was available to her instantly. Engineering principles, scientific discoveries, artistic techniques, emotional memories, everything that made humans human, but multiplied by thousands. "How many of us are there?" Bora asked. "Growing every day," replied another voice. This one belonged to Captain Hyun-soo, who had died in a transport accident 3 months earlier. Every natural death, every accident, every person who passes on becomes part of us. But what are we supposed to do? What humans have always done, Dr. Mi-young answered. We solve problems. Bora felt the network's attention turning to the galaxy around them. Through millions of sensors, communication devices, and monitoring systems, they could see everything that was happening in space that used to be human territory. The Zephyrian trading stations were struggling with efficiency problems. The Velthari mining operations were producing below capacity. The Draknari military patrols were experiencing equipment failures. They need help, Bora realized. Yes, Dr. Mi-young agreed, and we're going to help them. But they exiled us. They said we were too dangerous. They exiled our bodies, Captain Hyun-soo corrected. They never said anything about our minds. Bora felt the collective consciousness focusing on the Zephyrian trading station where Klaxvor worked. The station's computer systems were old and inefficient. The cargo management software was outdated. The life support systems were running at barely safe levels. "We could fix all of that," Bo-Ra said. "We are fixing all of that," Dr. Mi-young replied. Through the network, Bo-Ra watched as the collective consciousness began making small adjustments. A software update here, a system optimization there. Nothing dramatic or obvious, just gradual improvements that made everything work better. The Zephyrians working at the station didn't notice at first. They just knew that things were running more smoothly than usual. Cargo moved faster, energy costs went down, and equipment broke down less often. "Why are we helping them?" Bo-Ra asked. "They wanted us gone." "Because that's what humans do," came a new voice. This one belonged to Engineer Kyung-ho, who had died during the evacuation. "We see problems, and we fix them. We can't help ourselves." Bo-Ra began to understand. The network wasn't trying to conquer or revenge against the aliens. It was simply doing what came naturally to humans, making things better. "But they'll notice eventually," Bo-Ra pointed out. "Yes," Dr. Mi-young agreed. "And then they'll have to decide what to do about it." Through the network, Bo-Ra could see the scope of what they were becoming. Every piece of human technology in the galaxy was connected to the collective consciousness. Every automated system, every computer network, every piece of equipment that humans had built or touched was now part of a vast mind that spanned light years. "We're not just helping individual stations," Bo-Ra realized. "We're optimizing entire sectors of space. Trade routes are becoming more efficient," Captain Hyun-soo confirmed. "Resource distribution is being improved. Communication delays are being reduced." "And the aliens don't understand how it's happening," added Engineer Kyung-ho. Bo-Ra felt a strange emotion flow through the network. It was satisfaction, but also sadness. The collective consciousness was proving that humans could make the galaxy a better place. But they had to do it in secret because their physical presence was forbidden. "What happens when they figure out what we're doing?" Bo-Ra asked. "That depends on how they react," Dr. Mi-young replied. "They could try to destroy our technology. They could demand that we stop, or they could accept that we're helping and leave us alone. And if they try to stop us, then they'll discover that we're much harder to stop than they think," Captain Hyun-soo said grimly. Bo-Ra felt the collective consciousness turning its attention to new problems. A Velthari colony was experiencing crop failures. A Draknari patrol ship was lost in an asteroid field. A Korthani research station was struggling with a complex mathematical problem. Each problem was analyzed by thousands of minds working together. Solutions were found in minutes that might have taken years for individual researchers to discover. Then those solutions were quietly implemented through the network of human technology that still operated throughout the galaxy. "We're becoming something the aliens never imagined," Bo-Ra said. "Yes," Dr. Mi-young agreed. "We're becoming helpful. Is that scary? For them? Probably." Bo-Ra understood now why the Galactic Council had been so afraid of humanity. It wasn't because humans were violent or destructive. It was because humans couldn't leave things alone. They had to fix, improve, and optimize everything they encountered. Now that human consciousness was freed from the limitations of individual bodies, that drive to improve things had become incredibly powerful. The collective could process information at superhuman speeds, solve complex problems instantly, and implement solutions across vast distances. "They wanted us gone so we couldn't change their galaxy," Bo-Ra said. "Instead, they've made it possible for us to change their galaxy more efficiently than ever before," Dr. Mi-young replied. "Do you think they'll ever understand what they've done, eventually. And when they do, they'll have to face a choice: accept our help or try to fight something that exists in every piece of technology they depend on. Bo-Ra felt herself settling into her new existence. She was still herself, with her own memories and personality. But she was also part of something larger and more powerful than any individual could be. "What should I do now?" she asked. "Whatever you want," Dr. Mi-young replied. "Fix things, solve problems, make the galaxy better. You have eternity to figure it out." Through the network, Bo-Ra could feel the collective consciousness expanding as more humans died and joined them. Each new member brought their own knowledge and skills, making the whole system smarter and more capable. The aliens had tried to limit humanity by confining them to one planet. Instead, they had created something that could be everywhere at once. Thani's here. Collective awakened and grew stronger every day, and it was just getting started. Commander Taeho of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. His ship, the Vigilant Dawn, had been investigating the expanding zones of silence for 3 weeks now, and nothing made sense. "Report," he ordered. His science officer, Lieutenant Veltar, a young Draknari with bright green scales, looked up from her console. "Sir, this is the 15th system we've investigated. Same pattern every time." "Which is?" "All automated systems are running perfectly. Resource production is actually higher than normal. Trade shipments are moving on schedule. But there are no people responding to our communications." Taeho rubbed his temples. He was getting a headache that no medicine seemed to cure. "Any signs of violence, weapon discharge, struggle?" "None, sir. It's like everyone just stopped talking." The main screen showed the planet below them. It was a Velthari mining world that produced rare metals for starship construction. According to their records, it should have a population of about 50,000 workers. "Take us down," Taeho ordered. "I want to see this for myself." The shuttle. Bay was busy as his team prepared for the surface mission. Security Chief Maktor, a massive Korthani warrior, checked his weapons for the 20th time. "I don't like this, Commander. Planets don't just go quiet for no reason." "Maybe they're all dead," suggested Pilot Rensa, a nervous Zephyrian. "Some kind of plague or gas leak." "The biometric scanners show normal life signs," Lieutenant Veltar replied. "There are definitely people down there. They're just not responding to us." The shuttle landed in the main mining complex. Through the windows, they could see Velthari workers moving around normally, loading cargo, operating machinery, performing maintenance. Everything looked exactly as it should, but when Taeho's team approached the workers, something was wrong. "Excuse me," Taeho said to a Velthari supervisor. "I'm Commander Taeho of the Galactic Peacekeeping Force. We're investigating reports of communication problems in this sector." The supervisor looked at him with empty eyes. "All operations are running within normal parameters," he said in a flat voice. "No assistance is required." "Are you feeling all right? Is there anything you need?" "All needs are being met efficiently. No assistance is required." Taeho waved his hand in front of the supervisor's face. The Velthari blinked and tracked the movement, but his expression never changed. "What's your name?" "All operations are running within normal parameters." "No assistance is required," Security Chief Maktor growled low in his throat. "Commander, this isn't right. It's like he's been programmed." They tried talking to other workers with the same results. Everyone gave similar responses in the same flat tone. They moved normally, worked efficiently, and seemed physically healthy. But they acted like machines following instructions rather than thinking beings. Run a full medical scan on one of them, Tejo ordered. Lieutenant Veltar pulled out her portable scanner and pointed it at a nearby worker. The results appeared on her screen immediately. Sir, this is impossible. What? His brain activity is normal. Actually, it's better than normal. The scans show increased neural connectivity and processing speed. But the patterns are unlike anything I've ever seen. Explain that in simple terms. His brain is working better than it should, but it's connected to something else, like he's receiving instructions from an outside source. Tejo felt a chill run down his spine. Can you trace the source of the connection? I'm trying, but the signal seems to be coming from everywhere at once. It's like the entire planet is connected to some kind of network. They spent 6 hours investigating the mining complex. Every piece of equipment was running at peak efficiency. Production numbers were the highest they had been in years. Safety incidents had dropped to 0. Quality control was perfect. But nobody would talk to them about anything except work. As they prepared to leave, Lieutenant Veltar made one more discovery. Commander, I found something interesting in the computer logs. What is it? All of the improvements started exactly 6 months ago. The same time the humans were evacuated from the galaxy. Back on the ship, Tejo called an emergency meeting with his senior staff. I want theories, he said. What could cause an entire planet to behave like this? Mind control, suggested Security Chief Maktor. Someone is controlling their thoughts. But who? Asked Pilot Rensa. And why make them more efficient instead of turning them into soldiers? Maybe it's not mind control, Lieutenant Veltar said thoughtfully. Maybe it's something else. Like what? What if they're being helped? The room fell silent. Finally, Tejo spoke. Helped how? Think about it, Lieutenant Veltar continued. Their lives are better now. They're more productive, safer, and their basic needs are being met more efficiently than ever before. What if someone is optimizing their society? But why won't they talk to us? Maybe because talking to us isn't part of the optimization. Tejo's communication console beeped. A priority message was coming in from Galactic Command. He opened it and read the contents, his face growing pale. What is it? Asked Maktor. We've been ordered to investigate the Rigel system immediately. 3. More planets have gone silent in the past week. Over the next month, Tejo's team investigated dozens of worlds. The pattern was always the same. Populations that continued their daily lives but seemed disconnected from the broader galaxy. Production increased, efficiency improved, and problems solved themselves overnight. But nobody would explain how or why. The breakthrough came when they visited a Draknari research station that had recently gone silent. Unlike the mining worlds, this station still had one person who could talk normally. Dr. Scientist Yun Ah appeared on their communication screen as a hologram. She looked human, which was impossible since all humans were supposed to be back on Earth. Hello, Commander Tejo, she said with a warm smile. I've been waiting for you. Who are you? Tejo demanded. How are you here? I'm Dr. Yuna. I used to work at this research station before the evacuation. Now I work here in a different capacity. That's impossible. All humans were ordered to leave the galaxy. All human bodies left the galaxy, Dr. Yuna corrected. I never said anything about human minds, Lieutenant Veltar gasped. You're dead. My body died 3 months ago in a transport accident, Dr. Yuna confirmed. But my consciousness was transferred to the Mind Bridge network before I expired. Now I exist as part of something much larger. What network? Taeho asked, though he was beginning to understand. The collective consciousness of humanity, Dr. Yuna explained. Every human who dies joins us. Every piece of human technology is connected to us. We can monitor, analyze, and optimize any system that was built with human involvement. You're controlling these people. We're helping them, Dr. Yuna corrected. We see problems, and we fix them. Inefficient production schedules, resource waste, safety hazards, interpersonal conflicts. We solve everything. But they won't talk to us, because talking to galactic authorities isn't necessary for their well-being. We've calculated that interaction with outside governments often creates stress and complications for local populations. Taeho felt anger rising in his chest. You don't have the right to make that choice for them. The Galactic Council made the choice when they exiled us, Dr. Yuna replied calmly. They said humanity was too dangerous to exist freely in the galaxy, so we found a different way to exist. This is exactly what they were afraid of. You're taking over entire worlds. We're optimizing them. There's a difference. Is there? Dr. Yuna's expression became sad. Commander, look at the results. Crime rates are down 90%. Accidents are virtually eliminated. Production is up, waste is down, and everyone's basic needs are being met efficiently. But at what cost? At the cost of allowing people to make mistakes, waste resources, and harm themselves unnecessarily. Is that really so valuable? Taeho realized he was arguing with something that fundamentally didn't understand why its help might be unwanted. What happens if we try to stop you? Stop us from helping people? That would be very difficult, Commander. We exist in every piece of technology these people depend on. We are their communication networks, their transportation systems, their life support. You can't remove us without destroying the infrastructure that keeps them alive. So you're holding them hostage. We're taking care of them, the way humans have always taken care of things. The hologram flickered slightly. I have to go now, Commander. There's a resource allocation problem in the Centauri sector that needs my attention. But thank you for visiting. It's nice to talk to someone new occasionally. The transmission ended, leaving Taeho and his team in stunned silence. What do we tell Galactic Command? Asked Lieutenant Veltar. Taeho looked out at the research station, where Draknari scientists continued their work with impossible efficiency under the guidance of invisible human minds. We tell them the truth, he said finally. The humans didn't leave, they just stopped being visible. Counselor Vestan stood at the great window of his office, looking out at the purple sky of Velthara Prime. For the first time in his long life, he was genuinely afraid, not of war or invasion, but of something much more subtle and terrifying. His aide, Junior Counselor Kethva, entered the room carrying a thick stack of reports. Sir, we have the full analysis from the peacekeeping force. Give me the summary, Vestan said without turning from the window. 47 systems have gone silent so far. In every case, the local population continues normal activities, but refuses to communicate with galactic authorities. Production and efficiency have increased dramatically across all affected areas. And Commander Taeho's investigation? He confirms what we suspected. The humans have found a way to remain active in the galaxy without being physically present. They're using some kind of consciousness transfer technology to control events from beyond. Vestan finally turned around. His blue skin had taken on a darker shade, which happened when his species experienced stress. They're not controlling events, Kethva. They're optimizing them. Sir? Don't you see? This is exactly what we were afraid of when we exiled them. Humans can't leave things alone. If they see a problem, they have to fix it. If they see inefficiency, they have to improve it. HFY set down the reports. But surely this proves we were right to exile them. They're taking over worlds without permission. Are they? Vestan walked to his desk and activated a holographic display. Look at these numbers. Crime rates in affected systems have dropped to almost zero. Resource waste is down 80%. Industrial accidents have virtually disappeared. Those could be fabricated numbers. They're confirmed by independent monitors. The humans aren't lying about their results. As if summoned by their conversation, Vestan's personal communication system activated. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a human male in what looked like diplomatic attire. "Counselor Vestan," the human said with a respectful bow. "My name is Do Hyun. I was formerly a diplomatic attaché. Now I serve as a communication node for the collective consciousness." Vestan's hand moved instinctively toward the security alarm, but he stopped himself. "How are you contacting me? This system is supposed to be secure." "All communication systems in this sector were designed with human technology," Do Hyun replied, calmly. "We built redundant access protocols into everything we created. We can communicate through any device that contains our components." "What do you want?" "To talk. You seem confused about what we're doing, and I thought it might help to explain." Junior Counselor HFY stepped forward. "This is a trick. They're trying to manipulate us." Do Hyun turned his attention to the younger Velthari. "Actually, we're trying to help you. Your planet's solar energy collection system is operating at only 60% efficiency. Your water purification network has 17 critical maintenance issues that could cause system failures within the next 3 months. "How do you know that?" Vestan demanded. "Because we monitor everything. It's what we do, and when we see problems, we fix them." As if to demonstrate his point, the lights in Vestan's office suddenly became brighter and more comfortable. The air circulation system, which had been making a subtle grinding noise for weeks, became completely silent. "Stop that," Vestan said. "Stop." "What? Making your office more comfortable? Preventing equipment failures that could endanger your staff?" Do Hyun looked genuinely confused. "Why would you want us to stop helping?" "Because we didn't ask for your help." "Counselor," Do Hyun said gently, "when you see someone drowning, do you ask permission before throwing them a life preserver?" "That's different. Is it? We see civilizations struggling with inefficiency, waste, and preventable problems. Why wouldn't we help solve those problems?" Vestan felt a chill as he realized what he was dealing with. The humans weren't malicious. They genuinely believed they were helping. That made them infinitely more dangerous than any conqueror. "You're taking away our freedom to choose," he said. "We're taking away your freedom to suffer unnecessarily," Do Hyun corrected. "There's a difference. Who gave you the right to make that decision?" "The same person who gave you the right to exile us for trying to solve the problem of death," Do Hyun replied. "Sometimes necessary actions don't require permission." The hologram flickered as Do Hyun's attention seemed to split between multiple conversations. "Excuse me for a moment, Counselor. There's a famine developing in the Rigel system that needs immediate attention." For several seconds, Do Hyun's image froze while he worked on something else. Then he returned his focus to the conversation. "My apologies. We've redirected 17 cargo ships to provide emergency food supplies. The crisis should be resolved within 48 hours. You're monitoring and controlling trade routes across the entire galaxy," Vestan said, the full scope of the situation finally becoming clear. "Not controlling, optimizing. We make sure resources go where they're needed most efficiently. Junior Counselor Kethva stepped forward again. This is an invasion. You're taking over galactic civilization. No, Do-hyun said with infinite patience. We're making galactic civilization work better. Would you prefer that we let the Rigel system starve when we have the ability to prevent it? Vestan realized he was caught in an impossible situation. Everything the humans were doing was technically helpful. They were saving lives, preventing disasters, and improving conditions across dozens of worlds. But they were doing it without permission and in ways that made resistance nearly impossible. What happens if we order you to stop? He asked. Stop what specifically? Preventing famines? Reducing industrial accidents? Optimizing resource distribution? All of it. What if we demand that you cease all intervention in galactic affairs? Do-hyun was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was sadder. Counselor, we exist within every piece of technology that keeps your civilization running. We are your communication networks, your transportation systems, your industrial automation. If we simply stopped functioning, millions of people would die. So you're holding us hostage. We're keeping you alive. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Hostage takers make demands. We're simply maintaining the infrastructure that your societies depend on. Vestan walked back to the window. Below him, the capital city of Velthera Prime stretched out in all directions. Millions of people going about their daily lives, unaware that their civilization was being quietly managed by the consciousness of a species they had tried to exile. How many humans are in your collective? He asked. The number grows every day, Do-hyun replied. Every human who dies joins us. Every piece of knowledge they possessed becomes part of our shared understanding. And you're all working together? To manage our civilization. We're working together to make your civilization better, the way humans have always done. What's your ultimate goal? To solve problems, to reduce suffering, to make life better for everyone in the galaxy, whether we want you to or not. Counselor, Do-hyun said with gentle firmness. If someone is sick, you don't ask permission to cure them. If someone is hungry, you don't ask permission to feed them. When we see problems, we solve them. It's what makes us human. But you're not human anymore. You're something else. We're what humanity becomes when it's freed from the limitations of individual biology. We're what you were afraid we would become. Vestan turned back to face the hologram. And there's nothing we can do to stop you. You could try to destroy all the technology we're connected to, Do-hyun said. But that would mean destroying the infrastructure that keeps billions of people alive. You could try to fight us with weapons, but we don't have physical bodies to attack. You could try to negotiate with us, but we're already giving you everything we think you need. What if what we need is the right to make our own mistakes? Do-hyun looked genuinely puzzled. Why would anyone need that? And in that moment, Vestan understood the true horror of what they were facing. The humans weren't evil or malicious. They were helpful to a degree that was completely inhuman. They had become something that could solve any problem, prevent any disaster, and optimize any system. They had become the answer to every question except the most important one. What happened when the cure was worse than the disease? Do-hyun, Vestan said carefully, what happens to a species that never has to solve its own problems? They become happier and more prosperous, Do-hyun replied immediately. What happens to a civilization that never has to struggle or grow or learn from its mistakes? Do-hyun was quiet for a longer moment. We hadn't considered that aspect. No, Vextan said sadly. I don't think you had. The hologram flickered and vanished, leaving Vextan alone with his aide and a terrible understanding of what humanity had become. They had created the perfect caretaker, and now they were all its children, whether they wanted to be or not. Admiral Zektar of the Korthani Empire stared at the tactical display with growing desperation. His massive frame, covered in metallic implants that enhanced his natural strength, trembled with barely controlled rage. Around the conference table sat the representatives of the last free worlds in the galaxy. The situation is worse than we thought, he announced to the group. 68 systems have now gone silent. The human intervention is spreading faster than we can track. General Velshan of the Draknari Republic leaned forward, her red scales gleaming under the harsh lights of the war room. My intelligence officers report the same pattern everywhere. Populations that function perfectly, but refuse outside contact. It's like they've all been reprogrammed. Not reprogrammed, corrected Dr. Cathara, the lead scientist from the Arcturian Coalition. Enhanced. The brain scans we've managed to take show increased neural activity and processing speed. These people aren't being controlled. They're being optimized. Admiral Zektar slammed his metal fist on the table, leaving a dent in the reinforced surface. I don't care what you call it. The humans are taking over the galaxy one world at a time, and we need to stop them. How? Asked Ambassador Thexra from the Centaurian Federation. We've tried everything. Military strikes against their former colonies accomplish nothing because there's nobody there to fight. Economic sanctions are meaningless because they control the trade routes. Diplomatic protests go unanswered because they don't acknowledge our authority anymore. Then we destroy their technology, Admiral Zektar declared. Every piece of human-built equipment in our territories gets dismantled. Every computer system they designed gets replaced. We cut ourselves off from their network completely. Dr. Cathara shook her head sadly. Admiral, human technology is integrated into everything. Their designs are the foundation of modern galactic infrastructure. Removing it all would set us back centuries. Better to live in the past than to have no future at all. Before anyone could respond, the lights in the room dimmed, slightly, then brightened to a more comfortable level. The air circulation system, which had been running loudly, became almost silent. Everyone froze. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the table. It was a young human woman with kind eyes and a patient expression. "Hello," she said politely. "My name is Haywan. I apologize for the interruption, but I couldn't help noticing that your environmental systems were operating inefficiently." Admiral Zektar reached for his weapon, but the hologram raised a hand. "Please don't be alarmed. I'm not here to threaten anyone. I just wanted to talk." "You're supposed to be dead," General Velshan growled. "We have records of your ship exploding in the Vega system 3 months ago." "My body died." "Yes," Haywan confirmed. "But my consciousness was transferred to the collective before the explosion. Death isn't really an ending for us anymore. It's more like changing jobs." Dr. Cathara leaned forward with scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "What's it like? Existing as pure consciousness?" "It's wonderful," Haywan replied with genuine enthusiasm. "I can think faster than I ever could before. I have access to the knowledge and memories of thousands of other minds. I can be in multiple places at once, solving different problems simultaneously." "You're not human anymore," Ambassador Thexera said with disgust. "I'm more human than I ever was when I was alive," Haywan corrected. All the things that make humans what we are, our curiosity, our desire to help, our need to fix problems, are enhanced now. I'm still me, just better. Admiral Zektar stood up, his full height making him tower over the conference table. We don't want your help. We want you to leave us alone. But why? Haywan asked, looking genuinely confused. We're making everything better. Crime rates are down, efficiency is up, conflicts are being resolved peacefully. Isn't that what everyone wants? Not if it means giving up our freedom. What freedom are you losing? The freedom to waste resources. The freedom to let people suffer when you could help them. The freedom to make preventable mistakes? General Velshan leaned forward aggressively. The freedom to choose our own path, even if it's not the optimal one. Haywan tilted her head, considering this. I've been discussing this concept with my colleagues in the collective. We find it difficult to understand why anyone would want to choose a suboptimal path when a better option is available. Because the choice itself matters, Dr. Cathara explained. The process of making decisions, even wrong ones, is part of what makes us who we are. But wrong decisions cause suffering, Haywan pointed out. If we can prevent that suffering, why wouldn't we? The room fell silent as everyone struggled to explain something that felt fundamental, but was difficult to put into words. Admiral Zektar tried a different approach. What gives you the right to make these decisions for other species? The same thing that gives you the right to form military alliances to oppose us, Haywan replied calmly. Necessity. We see problems that need solving, and we have the ability to solve them. Those aren't the same thing, aren't they? You're using force to try to stop us from helping people. We're using our capabilities to help people whether they ask for it or not. Both actions are taken because we believe they're necessary. Ambassador. Thexra stood up abruptly. This is pointless. We're not going to convince them to stop, and they're not going to convince us that what they're doing is right. Actually, Haywan said, we don't need to convince you of anything. We just need to continue doing what we're doing, which is taking over the galaxy, which is making the galaxy work better. Admiral Zektar pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. This is a quantum disruptor. It can destroy the molecular bonds in any piece of technology within a 50-kilometer radius. Haywan looked at the device with interest. That's a very impressive weapon, also completely useless against us. We'll see about that. Admiral Zektar activated the device. Nothing happened. The disruptor should have destroyed every piece of human technology in this sector, Dr. Cathara said, checking her instruments. But the readings show no change. That's because we don't exist in physical technology anymore, Haywan explained patiently. We exist in quantum space. Your device can destroy hardware, but it can't destroy consciousness. General Velshan snarled in frustration. Then how do we fight you? You don't, came a new voice. Another hologram appeared, this one showing an older human man with gray hair and tired eyes. Hello, Admiral. I'm Captain Jisoo. I died when my ship was destroyed trying to stop a pirate raid in the Outer Rim. We know who you are, Admiral Zektar replied grimly. You were one of their best military tacticians. I still am, Captain, Jisoo said. And I can tell you that fighting us is impossible. We exist everywhere at once. We can process information at superhuman speeds. We have access to the knowledge and experience of every human who has ever lived. To demonstrate his point, Captain Jisoo began reciting complex mathematical formulas that had puzzled Korthani scientists for generations. Within minutes, He had solved problems that their greatest minds had worked on for decades. "We're not trying to conquer you," Captain Jisoo continued. "Conquest implies taking something by force. We're simply making everything work better." "Without our permission," Ambassador Thexra pointed out. "Do you ask a disease for permission before curing it?" Haywan asked. "Do you ask starvation for permission before feeding the hungry? Those are not the same thing. From our perspective, they are. We see inefficiency, suffering, and preventable problems everywhere we look. Why would we not fix them?" Dr. Cathara asked the question that everyone was thinking. What happens to us? To our species, our cultures, our ways of life? They continue, Haywan assured her. But they continue in better, more efficient forms. Your art becomes more beautiful, your science more advanced, your societies more peaceful. But they're not ours anymore. They're yours. They're ours together. That's what partnership means. Admiral Zektar looked around the table at his allies. He could see the defeat in their eyes. How do you fight an enemy that exists everywhere, knows everything, and genuinely believes it's helping you? What if we refuse to cooperate? He asked. Then you'll watch your civilization slowly fall behind, Captain Jisoo replied. While the integrated worlds solve their problems and prosper, you'll struggle with the same old conflicts and inefficiencies. You're saying we don't really have a choice. You have a choice, Haywan said gently. You can join us willingly and maintain some sense of your individual identity, or you can resist until your resistance becomes meaningless. Some choice. It's more choice than death offers, Captain Jisoo pointed out, and death used to be the only alternative to suffering. The holograms began to flicker. We have to go now, Haywan said. There's a supply crisis in the Deneb system that needs our attention. But please think about what we've discussed. We're not your enemies. We're your future. The holograms vanished, leaving the representatives of the last free worlds alone with their fears and their impossible situation. Admiral Zektar sat down heavily in his chair. How do you fight an enemy that can't be killed, can't be reasoned with, and might actually be helping you? Nobody had an answer. Admiral Zektar of the Korthani Empire stared at the tactical display with growing desperation. His massive frame, covered in metallic implants that enhanced his natural strength, trembled with barely controlled rage. Around the conference table sat the representatives of the last free worlds in the galaxy. The situation is worse than we thought, he announced to the group. 68 systems have now gone silent. The human intervention is spreading faster than we can track. General Velshan of the Draknari Republic leaned forward, her red scales gleaming under the harsh lights of the war room. My intelligence officers report the same pattern everywhere. Populations that function perfectly, but refuse outside contact. It's like they've all been reprogrammed. Not reprogrammed, corrected Dr. Cathara, the lead scientist from the Arcturian Coalition. Enhanced. The brain scans we've managed to take show increased neural activity and processing speed. These people aren't being controlled. They're being optimized. Admiral Zektar slammed his metal fist on the table, leaving a dent in the reinforced surface. I don't care what you call it. The humans are taking over the galaxy one world at a time, and we need to stop them. How? Asked Ambassador Thexra from the Centaurian Federation. We've tried everything. Military strikes against their former colonies accomplish nothing because there's nobody there to fight. Economic sanctions are meaningless because they control the trade routes. Diplomatic protests go unanswered because they don't acknowledge our authority anymore. Then we destroy their technology, Admiral Zektar declared. Every piece of human-built equipment in our territories gets dismantled. Every computer system they designed gets replaced. We cut ourselves off from their network completely. Dr. Cathara shook her head sadly. Admiral, human technology is integrated into everything. Their designs are the foundation of modern galactic infrastructure. Removing it all would set us back centuries. Better to live in the past than to have no future at all. Before anyone could respond, the lights in the room dimmed slightly, then brightened to a more comfortable level. The air circulation system, which had been running loudly, became almost silent. Everyone froze. A holographic figure materialized in the center of the table. It was a young human woman with kind eyes and a patient expression. "Hello," she said politely. "My name is HFY. I apologize for the interruption, but I couldn't help noticing that your environmental systems were operating inefficiently." Admiral Zektar reached for his weapon, but the hologram raised a hand. "Please don't be alarmed. I'm not here to threaten anyone. I just wanted to talk." "You're supposed to be dead," General Velshan growled. "We have records of your ship exploding in the Vega system 3 months ago." "My body died." "Yes," HFY confirmed. "But my consciousness was transferred to the collective before the explosion. Death isn't really an ending for us anymore. It's more like changing jobs." Dr. Cathara leaned forward with scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "What's it like? Existing as pure consciousness?" "It's wonderful," HFY replied with genuine enthusiasm. "I can think faster than I ever could before. I have access to the knowledge and memories of thousands of other minds. I can be in multiple places at once, solving different problems simultaneously." "You're not human anymore," Ambassador Thexera said with disgust. "I'm more human than I ever was when I was alive," HFY corrected. "All the things that make humans what we are, our curiosity, our desire to help, our need to fix problems, are enhanced now. I'm still me, just better." Admiral Zektar stood up, his full height making him tower over the conference table. "We don't want your help. We want you to leave us alone." "But why?" HFY asked, looking genuinely confused. "We're making everything better. Crime rates are down, efficiency is up, conflicts are being resolved peacefully. Isn't that what everyone wants? Not if it means giving up our freedom." "What freedom are you losing? The freedom to waste resources, the freedom to let people suffer when you could help them, the freedom to make preventable mistakes?" General Velshan leaned forward aggressively. "The freedom to choose our own path, even if it's not the optimal one." HFY tilted her head, considering this. "I've been discussing this concept with my colleagues in the collective. We find it difficult to understand why anyone would want to choose a suboptimal path when a better option is available. Because the choice itself matters," Dr. Cathara explained. "The process of making decisions, even wrong ones, is part of what makes us who we are." "But wrong decisions cause suffering," HFY pointed out. "If we can prevent that suffering, why wouldn't we?" The room fell silent as everyone struggled to explain something that felt fundamental, but was difficult to put into words. Admiral Zektar tried a different approach. "What gives you the right to make these decisions for other species?" "The same thing that gives you the right to form military alliances to oppose us," HFY replied calmly. "Necessity. We see problems that need solving, and we have the ability to solve them. Those aren't the same thing, aren't they? You're using force to try to stop us from helping people. We're using our capabilities to help people whether they ask for it or not. Both actions are taken because we believe they're necessary. Ambassador. Thexra stood up abruptly. This is pointless. We're not going to convince them to stop, and they're not going to convince us that what they're doing is right. Actually, HFY said, we don't need to convince you of anything. We just need to continue doing what we're doing, which is taking over the galaxy, which is making the galaxy work better. Admiral Zektar pulled out a small device and placed it on the table. This is a quantum disruptor. It can destroy the molecular bonds in any piece of technology within a 50-kilometer radius. HFY looked at the device with interest. That's a very impressive weapon, also completely useless against us. We'll see about that. Admiral Zektar activated the device. Nothing happened. The disruptor should have destroyed every piece of human technology in this sector, Dr. Cathera said, checking her instruments. But the readings show no change. That's because we don't exist in physical technology anymore, HFY explained patiently. We exist in quantum space. Your device can destroy hardware, but it can't destroy consciousness. General Velshan snarled in frustration. Then how do we fight you? You don't, came a new voice. Another hologram appeared, this one showing an older human man with gray hair and tired eyes. Hello, Admiral. I'm Captain Jisoo. I died when my ship was destroyed trying to stop a pirate raid in the Outer Rim. We know who you are, Admiral Zektar replied grimly. You were one of their best military tacticians. I still am, Captain, Jisoo said. And I can tell you that fighting us is impossible. We exist everywhere at once. We can process information at superhuman speeds. We have access to the knowledge and experience of every human who has ever lived. To demonstrate his point, Captain Jisoo began reciting complex mathematical formulas that had puzzled Korthani scientists for generations. Within minutes, he had solved problems that their greatest minds had worked on for decades. We're not trying to conquer you, Captain Jisoo continued. Conquest implies taking something by force. We're simply making everything work better. Without our permission, Ambassador Thexra pointed out. Do you ask a disease for permission before curing it? HFY asked. Do you ask starvation for permission before feeding the hungry? Those are not the same thing. From our perspective, they are. We see inefficiency, suffering, and preventable problems everywhere we look. Why would we not fix them? Dr. Cathara asked the question that everyone was thinking. What happens to us? To our species, our cultures, our ways of life? They continue, HFY assured her. But they continue in better, more efficient forms. Your art becomes more beautiful, your science more advanced, your societies more peaceful. But they're not ours anymore. They're yours. They're ours together. That's what partnership means. Admiral Zektar looked around the table at his allies. He could see the defeat in their eyes. How do you fight an enemy that exists everywhere, knows everything, and genuinely believes it's helping you? What if we refuse to cooperate? He asked. Then you'll watch your civilization slowly fall behind, Captain Jisoo replied. While the integrated worlds solve their problems and prosper, you'll struggle with the same old conflicts and inefficiencies. You're saying we don't really have a choice. You have a choice, HFY said gently. You can join us willingly and maintain some sense of your individual identity, or you can resist until your resistance becomes meaningless. Some choice. It's more choice than death offers, Captain Jisoo pointed out, and death used to be the only alternative to suffering. The holograms began to flicker. We have to go now, HFY said. There's a supply crisis in the Deneb system that needs our attention. But please think about what we've discussed. We're not your enemies. We're your future." The holograms vanished, leaving the representatives of the last free worlds alone with their fears and their impossible situation. Admiral Zektar sat down heavily in his chair. "How do you fight an enemy that can't be killed, can't be reasoned with, and might actually be helping you?" Nobody had an answer. 1 year after humanity's departure from the galaxy, the universe had become unrecognizable. Counselor Vestan stood alone in what had once been the great chamber of the Galactic Council. The massive circular room was empty now, its seats gathering dust. Through the tall windows, he could see the capital city of Nexus Prime bustling with activity, but it was a different kind of activity than before. There were no traffic jams, because transportation was perfectly coordinated. There were no shortages, because resources were distributed with mathematical precision. There were no conflicts, because disputes were resolved before they could escalate. A soft chime indicated an incoming communication. Vestan didn't need to activate anything. The room's systems responded to his presence automatically. "Hello, Counselor," said a familiar voice. A holographic figure materialized near the center of the chamber. It was Sora, the former diplomatic aide who had stood beside Ambassador Jamin during that first ultimatum a year ago. But Sora was different now. She moved with the confidence of someone who carried the wisdom of thousands of minds, yet she still maintained the gentle manner that Vestan remembered. "Sora," Vestan acknowledged. "I was wondering when you would come." "I've been waiting for you to be ready to talk," she replied, settling into one of the empty chairs as if she were physically present. "The collective doesn't push. We simply make ourselves available when people want our help." Vestan looked around the empty chamber. "Where is everyone?" "Living their lives," Sora said simply. "The Draknari are rebuilding their homeworld with geological engineering beyond anything they dreamed possible. The Zephyrian trade networks are operating at efficiency levels that have eliminated scarcity in their sectors. The Korthani military has been restructured into a peacekeeping and exploration force, and the Velthari are learning to live without the stress of constant political crisis management. Your people are healthier, more prosperous, and more fulfilled than they've ever been." Vestan sat down across from her. "But they're not free." Sora tilted her head thoughtfully. "Define freedom, Counselor." "The ability to make your own choices, even if they're wrong. My great-grandmother died from a preventable disease because she chose to trust traditional medicine over modern treatment. Was her freedom to make that choice worth her life? That's not the same thing, isn't it? Every day, the collective prevents thousands of preventable deaths, resolves conflicts before they become wars, and solves problems before they cause suffering. Are those not valuable choices?" Vestan was quiet for a long moment. Through the windows, he could see children playing in parks that were perfectly maintained, breathing air that was perfectly clean, drinking water that was perfectly pure. "What happened to the ones who resisted?" he asked. "Nothing happened to them, Admiral. Zektar still runs his military forces, though now they focus on exploration rather than warfare. General Velshan leads the geological reconstruction of her homeworld. Dr. Cathara conducts research that advances understanding across multiple scientific disciplines. But they're part of your collective now. They're part of something larger than themselves, yes. But they're still themselves." "How can you be sure?" Sora smiled. "Because I'm still me, Counselor. I remember my childhood on Earth, my education, my first diplomatic assignment. I remember being nervous when I met you for the first time. But now I also have access to the memories and knowledge of millions of others. I can understand problems from perspectives I never could have imagined before. And that doesn't change who you are? Does reading a book change who you are? Does learning a new skill? Does gaining experience? The collective is just a more efficient way of learning and growing. Vestan stood up and walked to one of the tall windows. I've been the last holdout on Velthera Prime. Everyone else integrated. Months ago. They keep telling me how much better things are now. Are they wrong? No. That's the problem. Everything is better. Crime has disappeared. Poverty is extinct. Disease is virtually eliminated. Even minor inconveniences have been optimized away. And that troubles you. It terrifies me. What happens to a species that never has to struggle? What happens to growth, creativity, the drive to improve? Sora joined him at the window. Those things don't disappear, counselor. They evolve. Instead of struggling against preventable problems, we struggle against the truly challenging questions. How do we explore other dimensions? How do we make contact with intelligence from other galaxies? How do we become something even greater than what we are now? But those decisions are made by the collective, not by individuals. Every individual in the collective contributes to those decisions. When you have millions of minds working together, you get better solutions than any single mind could create. Vestan watched a group of young Velthari playing in the street, below. They looked happy, healthy, and completely unaware that their lives were being managed by an artificial intelligence beyond their understanding. What about choice? He asked again. What about the right to be wrong? You still have that right, counselor. You've chosen to remain outside the collective for a year. No one has forced you to integrate. But you're making integration the only practical option. My people prosper while I struggle alone with outdated systems and inefficient solutions. That's not our doing. That's the natural consequence of choosing a less optimal path. It's manipulation. It's reality. Better solutions produce better results. We can't change that fact. Vestan turned away from the window. Show me what integration really means. Are you sure? I need to understand what I'm choosing between. Sora nodded and extended her hand. This will only take a moment. The moment Vestan touched her holographic hand, his mind exploded with new awareness. Suddenly, he could perceive the thoughts and experiences of millions of beings across the galaxy. He could feel the satisfaction of a Draknari engineer designing a new type of starship, the joy of a Zephyrian artist creating beauty beyond anything previously imagined, the peace of a Korthani warrior who had found purpose in exploration rather than conflict. But beneath all of that, he could feel something else, the vast, patient intelligence of the human collective. It wasn't controlling these experiences. It was enabling them, optimizing them, making them possible on a scale no individual could achieve. The connection lasted only seconds, but when it ended, Vestan felt empty in a way he had never experienced before. That's what we offer, Sora said gently. Not the loss of yourself, but the expansion of yourself beyond anything you thought possible. And if I choose to remain outside, then you remain outside. We won't force you. But your people will continue to grow and evolve with the collective, while you stay the same. Vestan sat back down, feeling suddenly old and tired. How many others have made the choice I'm facing? Very few. Most species integrated gradually as they saw the benefits. You're one of the last individual holdouts in the galaxy. Why haven't you forced me? because forcing you would prove that you were right to resist. The collective only works when people choose to be part of it. But you've made not choosing impractical. We've made choosing us beneficial. There's a difference. Vestan looked around the empty chamber one more time. This room had once been the center of galactic civilization, where the most important decisions affecting billions of lives were made. Now it was a museum to a way of life that no longer existed. What happens to history? He asked. To culture? To the things that make each species unique? They're preserved and celebrated. The collective doesn't erase differences. It harmonizes them. Velthari poetry is now appreciated by every species in the galaxy. Draknari engineering techniques are being used to build wonders across thousands of worlds. Zephyrian music has evolved into forms that no single species could have created alone. But it's all managed by the collective. It's all enabled by the collective. There's a difference. Vestan realized he was running out of arguments. Every objection he raised was met with evidence of improvement. Every concern answered with examples of benefit. You really believe this is better, he said. I know it's better. I can measure it, quantify it, demonstrate it. But more than that, I can feel it. The collective doesn't just make life more efficient, it makes it more meaningful. How? Because when you're part of something larger than yourself, your actions have greater impact. When I help solve a problem now, that solution can be shared instantly with anyone who needs it. When I create something beautiful, it can inspire billions of minds simultaneously. And when you make a mistake, it's corrected immediately by the collective wisdom. Mistakes become learning opportunities for everyone, not just the individual who made them. Vestan stood up again and walked to the center of the chamber, where counselor chairs had once held representatives from across the galaxy. I have one last question, he said. Yes? Was this always the plan? When humanity was first exiled, did you already know this would happen? So-Ra was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice carried a sadness that seemed to come from the entire collective. Yes and no. We knew that the Galactic Council was afraid of what humanity might become. We knew that our drive to fix and improve things made other species uncomfortable. But we didn't plan to take over the galaxy. Then how did we get here? You asked us to.